We'd like to welcome back our CEO.CA viewers to PDAC in Toronto. I am now joined by Neil Prowse and Charlie Gregg of American Eagle Gold. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we are day 2 into the conference. How are you finding it so far?
Busy, but that's a good thing. That's what people come here for.
Yeah, first day here for me, but yeah, so far so good. Yeah, a lot of excitement, it seems like.
Yeah, well, let's dive right into it. So tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and the experience that you bring to American Eagle Gold.
Sure. Well, I'm Charlie, and I bring quite a few years of experience in the business. I've been at this game for over 40 years now, and started as a soil sampler and just kind of kept on going, went back to school, got a geology degree, liked to try and find things, and so done the search for mineral deposits pretty much that entire time, making geologic maps that help you do that kind of thing. And live in southern BC where there's a lot of rocks, and so there's a lot of good stuff to look at and a lot of good talent, including Neil, who's from the town that I live in, Penticton in southern BC.
Yeah, I guess my story is pretty similar to Charlie. I started soil sampling for Charlie, not knowing what I wanted to do as a career, and ended up going back to school for geology. And yeah, since I finished my master's in 2017, been working with Charlie ever since on a variety of projects, mostly throughout BC. So yeah, it's been a good journey.
Yeah. So lots going on at American Eagle Gold, but we want to know a little bit about the Babine Copper-Gold Porphyry District in BC. Can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, it has had a couple of producing mines that have been shut down for quite a while, but they're produce 2 commodities, copper, gold, and maybe a little bit of molybdenum as well. But it's kind of seen a resurgence of exploration recently. People have recognized that you can actually take these deposits a little deeper than was previously than they've had in terms of previous exploration, partly because you can actually mine some of these deposits underground now rather than just an open pit. So previously, the limits to the depth you could take them was how far you could dig, from surface. And now you can sort of mine them underground. So it's kind of seen a resurgence in exploration. Plus, they're in a good jurisdiction. BC is a good place to explore, relative to some parts of the world. So it's seen a lot more exploration.
Yeah, what we did at NAC this year was exactly that. We went and drilled deeper. Historical drilling on the property was bottoming out at around 350 meters. And we pushed down to close to a kilometer depth in some of the drill holes and hit some very encouraging mineralization that's so far not typical of the Babine Porphyry deposit. So yeah, there's some excitement there, and looking forward to seeing what we can do with that.
Well, you've touched on it a little bit. Could you share a little more on the appeal of the copper-gold porphyry?
Well, I think part of it is, it has both copper and gold. So if one commodity goes up in price a little bit, then you can rely on that, and then the opposite might be true. The other side of it is copper is obviously a very strategic kind of commodity, in high demand if you want to electrify the planet and use these kind of renewable resources, electricity or hydro, which BC has plenty of. You also need a lot of copper, and so that's a big part of it. And then again, the jurisdiction is a safe jurisdiction to work in. If you find something, you're not necessarily going to lose it because of a changing government, that sort of thing. So that's part of it.
Yeah. I guess to that point and more to the NAC project specifically, we have a really good relationship developed with the local Lake Babine First Nation, and that's been really important in bringing through things like permitting and community support for the project. So we're working towards that as well. And when you couple that with the copper and gold resource that we're hoping to develop on the property, it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, well, you said NAC. Could you explain the upsides for investors at NAC?
Yeah, I can speak to this. Yeah, so this year was the first year we drilled below. I mean, it's the first year it's been in the possession of American Eagle Gold. It was historically drilled in the 90s. And most of that drilling was an average depth of about 150 meters. So they were just testing the very top of a known porphyry system that was thought to be mostly analogous to Bell and Granile and the Morrison deposits that are nearby in the district. We were following up some geophysical investigation on the property this year that showed that there was likely maybe a bit of a higher grade source at depth, a pretty compelling geophysical signature, actually really similar to Tatogga and the Newcrest mines, Redcrest up in northern BC. So with that in mind, we set out to drill some deep holes and encountered very encouraging mineralization from top to bottom. So some very good near surface high gold, high copper grades, and some very high copper primary grades down at depth associated with the later phase of bornite, specifically rich diking. So it's very early days at NAC. We drilled 7 holes for 6,000 meters, and with that we tested a 750 meter strike length. This next year we're looking to step out and develop that in the lateral dimensions and continuing to try and discover what's driving this mineralization at depth.
Yeah. Could you explain the geological comparisons to Newcrest Redcrest mine and Newmont's Tatogga projects?
Yeah, I'll maybe let Charlie speak to Tatogga, as that's kind of your bread and butter.
Yeah, sure. So Tatogga was discovered fairly recently, 2017-18. Was the discovery of a newly recognized good mineralized porphyry system up at the Tatogga project, which is quite close to Newcrest and Imperial's Redcrest mine. So those things are, well, Newcrest mine is actually being developed as a deep block caved mine, underground mine at the moment. It has an open pit at the top, but it's transitioning into an underground mine. And a very rich one. So the richest ore is really down deep. And what we discovered on the Tatogga project on the Saddle North copper-gold porphyry was a similar kind of thing. Quite rich at surface, but it goes down a long way, like a mile. So we were drilling up to 1.5 kilometers down, and rich copper-gold mineralization that has the potential to be a very long-lived mining project. So this Babine thing, looking deep, we've got some encouragement down deep, but we also have some high grade for that area right at surface. So the idea is you can finance something early on from the good stuff at the surface. And then when we figure out the geology, because it's going to take a bit of figuring out, then we can maybe draw that down to depth and make a much more long-lived mining operation.
Yeah, and just speaking on geology, could you tell us a little bit about your team's geology experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically it's an old guy, me, with a bunch of young people that have the energy and a lot of the skills, and the initiative to drive these projects. So that's kind of the way it works on our little team. So I run a little consulting firm that works for some of these smaller mining exploration companies like American Eagle Gold. We bring experience not only in geology, but in the area, and then some youthful enthusiasm and skills to the project. And that's the way it works, really, yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our community at CEO.CA?
I would just say this is an exciting project. Like any mining exploration project, there's ups and downs in the early days, and we've had some ups and some downs, but we have the right team to explore this thing. We've got some experience. We're learning about the rocks. We need to do a bit more drilling. When we put together all those things, I think we're going to crack the nut and find out what controls where the mineralization is, and when we have that understanding, we'll be able to pursue things much more readily and efficiently.
Yeah, and I guess on my end, as the guy on the ground logging the rocks, I mean, it's pretty easy to be pessimistic about an exploration project. It's a lot more likely that there isn't a deposit where you're drilling than there is. We're seeing a lot of encouragement in these rocks, and it's pretty exciting. Every box we got out of the truck every day was having some very, very nice looking mineralization in it throughout huge intervals, of course. So yeah, it's been a really exciting project to be involved in, and yeah, really looking forward to see where we take it in 2023.
Well, good luck, and thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks, Emmerich. Yeah.